Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Adrian Reddix, and today I want to talk to you about getting older people into newer technology, specifically cell phones. This is going to be a guide on the different steps or different progressions you can take older people to getting them into newer or different technology. So, a couple years ago, I was doing research for a paper I was doing, and I used this Pew Research Study. I'll put it in the link. I'll put a link in the description below. They were talking about cell phone saturation usage. Now back then it was around like 92, 96%, and with 31% of people having smartphones. Well, just in that 6 to 7 year gap, it went from 31% smartphone usage to like 81%. That's huge. That's a huge jump in such a short amount of time. Let's say my mother-in-law, for example, does not have a cell phone and she wants to get one so she can be mobile and just have one. She's 60 something years old. She hadn't had a cell phone ever. This is mainly a video for her, but anybody else can benefit from it. So just stay with me. So the first thing I want to talk about is a really odd configuration. I wouldn't suggest this for anybody, but I thought I would tell this story. So I used to work for a certain authorized retailer, Verizon, that may have been located in Knoxville. We used to sell these things called home phone connects. You may know them at other retailers as a wireless home phone. And it was, you took a little base and you connect the analog phone to it and it worked anywhere you wanted. Usually we sold them to people who were trying to reduce their bill at home from whatever exorbitant amount their regular phone bill was, or people in RVs that wanted to take their number with them and still have that same number while they're traveling the road. Well, I used to work in a city in Mississippi called Natchez, one of the prettiest cities in the whole state. And in Natchez, the people, it was all women that did this, they were very ingenuitive. They decided that, you know what, because the thing is rechargeable and you can take it anywhere you want. I'm gonna have the base, a little cheap $9 phone, and that's gonna be my cell phone. And they used to carry these big purses around, and you'd hear the phone ring like it was like an old style ring, you know, like, oh man, that's cool. And this lady came in, she was like, oh yeah, I got me a cheap cell phone. I was like, well, okay, well, what are you talking about? And right then the phone started ringing. So she went into her bag and pulled out an analog phone. I thought it was one of those Bluetooth things because back then, you know, people would have the Bluetooth old school style phone to look cool. You know, I used to somebody with a sneaker phone. And she pulled out this whole home phone connect, or wireless home phone, and that was her cell phone. So that is a option. I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's a very creative solution to a problem. You still have a mobile phone, but you don't have the price of a mobile phone. You can get a $9 regular phone, and I think we were giving things away. Even if you bought it, it was like $100. So, you know, $109 you're out of, $20 a month. That's how much it cost back then. So that's the option. The next option is going to be the next logical choice, the real first cell phone. That's going to be a feature phone or a basic phone. These things are simple. You got brands like LG, all the major brands have them, LG, Samsung, or even Jitterbug. You have these things because they're simple, they're easy to use, they're in a format that if you're a analog phone user or a traditional phone user, that format is familiar. You still have those tactile buttons. That's one of the things with smartphones that I miss, is the tactile and the feel of the button, because typing on glass hurts my hand. Like after a while doing this or doing this on glass, it just hurts my hands and I can't do it. With those buttons, you get a little give, a little cushion. Another thing is you can buy these phones ruggedized. When I used to sell phones, I used to push either the ruggedized version or the ones I felt that were more well built, because usually people coming from a a phone that isn't mobile to this phone, they're a little more rough on these phones. And having something that can take a beating, that can take a couple drops, is a good thing. The only thing about these phones is the membrane inside the earpiece of it, like the where you put your ear, and the microphone. They have this little membrane that if you don't keep it clean, sometimes it doesn't vibrate as well, and the dirt make it not sound as good or as clean as it can. So that's one issue. Another issue with the flip and the slide, that's always been an issue with flips and slide, no matter how well they're built, is the hinge. The hinge is the weak point of these phones. I had one that whenever I went to the beach one time, did not put it in the sand at all. For the lifetime of that phone, you used to hear sand and just, it was not pleasant. So that's the downside. Another downside is if they need it for internet. They've gotten better on internet for a couple of these phones, but it's at a point it's not great. So mobile basic phone internet is functional, it's just not good. The next thing I would suggest, and what I did when I was selling phones, was if anybody was coming from a basic phone or didn't have a phone, I would always put them in an iPhone. The reason why is iPhone is simple. When it comes to older people, the accessibility features on iPhone are second to none. As far as, you know, voiceover, which we discussed in a video right here, call back. Also, the ease of use if you're not using the accessibility features, because things on the iPhone just work. There's only one way to do something. It's not like Android where you can attack something in different ways. There's one way to do it on an iPhone, and that makes things simpler for them. As far as ecosystem, the ecosystem of Apple makes it so if you want to branch them out into having an iPad, where the iPad and the iPhone experience are similar, so it makes that transition easier. Even if they have a Mac, which you can, how they work and how all their devices work together makes it easier for somebody who didn't have a cell phone or didn't have technology to integrate better in with that technology. You see what I'm saying? So you're not leaving them in the dust, because I think that's one of the things that we have to be cognizant of is not leaving anybody out, no matter age or anything like that. Just because they're older doesn't mean they don't want to have fun or they still don't have some type of value, right? I had a coworker who was trying to sell this phone to this lady. He was like, you know, you know, this is something you need. She was like, no, I don't need something like this. It sounds cool, but he was going through all the features of this phone. It can do this, it can do that, and nothing ever budged him. And something got in his head. He was like, so what are some of your hobbies? She was like, oh, I do some knitting, I do quilting, you know, things like that. So on a whim, he pulled out his phone. He found an app about quilting, and he showed it to her, and she was like, huh, how much is it gonna cost? And he's like, for you, you know, it'll be a deal. I give it to you for free. So she got the phone, and when they were ringing up, he was like, why did you decide to get the phone after I showed you this app? She was like, honey, I spend $200 a month on quilting books and templates. You just saved me, I believe her bill was going to be somewhere like $50. You just saved me $150 a month. If you get a smartphone for an older person, you got to make it relatable to them. What do they like? Do they like cooking? Do they like to keep in touch with their friends? Do they like to have pictures of their grandkids? I mean, you have to make it real for them to make them more acceptable to the technology. And so the last thing I would do for somebody coming from a basic phone or not having a phone is put them in an Android phone. I'm not saying Androids are bad. I'm just saying Android isn't as straightforward and easy as the iPhone. Things you may consider with the Android is features. Android seems to be at the bleeding edge of the two, iPhone and Android features. Seems like features come to the Android platform way before they do the iPhone. So they're always exploring new things and new types of cameras and new features to make the experience better. Also, having different manufacturers in the Android space gives you more options. And I always say more options is better, because one company may do something slightly better than the other one, and you may like that better, but your friend may like the way this other company does it. So as far as flexibility, I think it's one of the best things about the Android platform. If this person is more advanced and you happen to have a phone too, you can show them different things and, you know, be there and walk them through. So I think the Android, if they're willing to learn and they like a little more features, Android is the phone for them. Here's 3 things, once you made the phone selection, here's 3 things you should do to make their experience that much better. One is buy more cables. Make sure they have a cable in their car. Make sure they have a cable in their living room. Make sure it's easy as possible for them to charge these things up. Because if you remember, like I remember, when I first got my cell phone, the thing I was always searching for was charge. Oh, I need to plug it in. I need to plug it in. This was during the days of pre-smartphone, trying to plug it in somewhere. So make sure they have enough cables so that experience is better for them. 2 is, if they get a smartphone, make sure you get them a quality case, because they will drop it. Trust me, I know. I used to think it was cool and sell people phones without cases, and they used to bring them back, or they stopped paying bills, and I used to get chargebacks. So cases are going to be the next thing. And the third thing is, if they don't have as much dexterity in their hands, consider getting them a stylus for that smartphone, so they're familiar with using a pen, so they can use that pen to help them navigate things and make their experience better. Another tip is, if you're going to be the one to get this person a phone, make sure you get a phone that's exactly like yours, so you can show them how to do things. I wouldn't have an Android phone and then turn around and give my mother-in-law an iPhone. That wouldn't make sense, since she's never used one before. If I'm not familiar with the iPhone or the iOS platform, how am I going to show her how to use it? How is her time going to be spent enjoying it and integrating it and not being frustrated, right? So that's all I got for you today. If you like this video, hit a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, hey, hit a thumbs down. Tell me why you didn't like the video. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one.